Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the LCSW network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support, where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Well, welcome back to Self-Care Saturday. Welcome back to our 2021 series. We are today filming week 19 of our 2021 wellness series. For those of you that are new to the channel, I am a social worker that is creating these videos of self-care for other social workers. So let me give you all a quick recap of what we covered over the past 18 weeks. In the first week, we talked about the benefits of creating an early warning sign action plan for our self-care. In week 2, we talked about the benefits of using positive self-affirmations for our self-care. In week 3, we talked about using audiobooks for our self-care. In week 4, we talked about the benefits of cycling as a self-care practice. In week 6, we talked about the health benefits of walking for our self-care. In week 7, we talked about the benefits of sleep for our self-care. In week 8, we talked about the self-care practice of annual health exams. In week 9, we talked about using hobbies as our self-care practice. In week 10, we talked about the visual arts as self-care. In week 11, we talked about maintaining friendships as a form of self-care. In week 12, we talked about the benefits of music for our self-care. In week 13, we talked about the importance and the benefits of drinking water and staying hydrated for our self-care. In week 14, we talked about the benefits of food journaling as a self-care practice. In week 15, we talked about reconnecting to our purpose. In week 16, we talked about paying yourself first. In week 17, we talked about the importance of mindset, specifically growth mindset or abundance mindset. In week 18, we talked about spirituality. And today, for week 19, we are going to be talking about using laughter for our self-care. So, as I am filming this, I'm filming this in April 2021, but by the time this airs, it will be May of 2021. And it goes to say, or I should say it goes without saying, that for over the last year, we have gone through a once-in-a-century global pandemic. And as social workers, as I've said this week after week, the demand for our services, as well as demand for the services of other mental health professionals, has been unprecedented. As I've said week after week, many of us are working beyond 40 hours a week. Many of us are working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, and even 80 hours a week. And while we're doing great work for our clients, we also have to be vigilant of our own mental health and of our own mental health, physical health, spiritual health. So I thought today we would talk about something as important, but I think overlooked in many self-care videos, is something as simple as laughter. Laughter is something that comes to us easily when we're children, and as we get older and we get these degrees and we get all these responsibilities in our professional lives and in our personal lives, we become parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and paying bills and taking care of our elderly parents, and we get so busy and so serious that we forget how important it is to laugh. And as you guys know, I like to, as much as possible, I like to cite, journal articles that back up what I'm talking about. So I found this article in Everyday Health, and I will leave a link to this article in the description box. But this article that I came across talks about 6 tips that we can use for laughter, for bringing more laughter into our lives. So let's go into it. Tip number 1, don't worry about being funny. So what they mean by this tip is just we need to try to see humor in everyday situations. Even when things go wrong, we need to be able to see the humor in them, right? Tip number 2, we need to curate our comedy collection. So what does this mean? This means that many of us, especially during the last year of a global pandemic and just racial injustice and police brutality and anti-Asian acts of hate, many of us have gone to binging the news 24/7, and I know I used to do that until I got to a point, sometime in the middle of 2020 where it just got to be too much, and I just had to stop all that. I had to take some personal responsibility and increase my intake of humorous content. And that's what this tip is referring to. When it says curate our comedy collection, we need to be intentional about taking in comical and humorous content, stuff that makes us laugh, right? So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is take a laugh break. Take a laugh break. All right. So what does this mean? Oh, it's a nice windy day out here. All right. So research in the December 2014 issue of the Journal of Business and Psychology found that a well-planned 15-minute break for humor can bolster our productivity. Yes, so the research shows that taking a laugh break is good for our productivity. All right, let's move to the next tip. Tip number 4, try 3 funny things exercise. So what does this mean? Well, similar to many of us are practitioners of keeping a gratitude journal, right? I know I do that myself. At the end of the day, I put in my gratitude journal at least three things that I'm grateful for that day. Well, this exercise calls us to do the same thing, but for humorous things, funny things that happen to us in our day, right? So another study published in May 2018 in Frontiers in Psychology found that people who at the end of the day reflected and wrote down 3 amusing things that happened in the day for 1 week decreased depression symptoms and increased overall happiness for up to 6 months. In other words, a humor journal trains you to see humor in real time. Yes, let's all start keeping a humor journal, right? Okay. Tip number 5, tap laughter to learn more. So I learned something as I was studying to make this video. I didn't know this. Did you all know that the stress hormone cortisol damages the hippocampus, which is the area in the brain that's involved in language and memory? I did not know that before preparing for this video. However, laughter, which is a powerful antidote for stress, helps repair that damage and makes it easier to form new memories, according to research published in the spring 2014 issue of Advances in Mind-Body Medicine. And the last tip number